What is going on, Dandy Crew? It is DandyDrew, and we are back for another day of Catan. I've got something a little bit special, a little bit different. We're going to do a new series. This is going to be called Dandy After Dark, or Dad for short, if that's what you want to call it. And the whole premise is I recently put a post on the YouTube channel asking for your questions, and I wanted you guys to challenge me, ask me anything, AMA style. We got some great questions, so I'm going to try to the best of my ability to go through as many as I can during this game, try to make the game entertaining, try to answer your questions as much insight and knowledge as I can about the game of Catan, and hopefully, we can all have some fun doing it. Before we get into that, let's just quickly take a look at the board. We are in the 4th position. What a board, by the way. I mean, you got the 6, 9, 10, a massive spot, 8, 10, 5. Also very nice production. Also an interesting note, the wheat. The wheat is kind of clumped over here on the left-hand side. So intuitively, I think a lot of players would gravitate towards the 8, 10, 11. Look at that. Read my lips. Let me just... 6, 9, 10, very good pick. Makes a lot of sense. High production, wood port going to the 3-1. We're actually in a good spot here because either way, we're going to get onto this pile of wheat, which has a nice wheat port going towards it, or we get the 5, 8, 10. I think here the 5, 8, 10 probably is best for 3rd. Not sure what they're going to take. So why don't we go into the first question? This is by Cade. Says, what is usually the priority when it comes to placements? Is there an order of importance when it comes to rarity, production, and flexibility? Well, that's a great question. So for me, as far as the importance of those 3 pieces that you mentioned, I always gravitate towards production. I'm always, when it comes to my options, I'm looking at the highest producing spots. And in this particular case, I'm seeing that the 5, 10, 9, highest producing spot, probably not the most flexible, right? Because we're only getting 2 resources. But we do have the flexibility of going to the wheat port, so that also makes a lot of sense. So I would say production is probably my #1 focus, and then I'm going to flexibility for 2nd. And then rarity, it's definitely a factor, but I don't lose sleep over it, that's for sure. So on this board, I think we've got to play off for the wheat port for sure. The question is then where do we go? You know what? I think we're going to play... Oh, we could do 8-4 and play an or wheat sheep game. I kind of like that. But the 6-4-3 is fundamentally good too. Do we win there? Let's think about this. Let's think. It is the best or, but I think we can actually hustle our way over to the wheat port and potentially even get a road to the 8. So why don't we do this? We'll do 5, 10, 9, and then 6-4-3. We've also got the port to the sheep port. We're going to start with the brick because it is one of our rare resources, and hopefully we can get to the wheat port in a decent amount of time. So yes, to answer your question, Cade, we're looking at production primarily. We're looking at flexibility, making sure that we get unique resources and ports. And then rarity is also something as well, but I think good players tend to, they can trade their way to get rare resources or work with the bank. So, all right. And also Cade said, love the content, bro. Never thought I'd enjoy Catan as much as I do, but here we are. That is true. We are here. We're having a good time, and I appreciate you. Thank you, Cade. 9-11 or 11-9 depends on your historical reference. Interesting pick. 4-5. What is going on? The desert is going wild. And I think here, there's no way. Are they going 6-2 to pick up the sheep? Are they going 6-2 to pick up sheep? There's no way. Probably makes the most sense here. You could do something like the 4-3-11 does kind of give you a little bit of everything, but the only issue there is you do destroy the 11-4-3, so that might not be the play. You could also do 9-4-2 down to get to the 6-2, or if you just want to be a madman, just take the 6-2. The next question here, Shiva says, in competitive Catan environment with people conversing live or via voice chat, would you agree that a dev card / army game is better than a road game since it is somewhat easier for the table to team up and conspire against you to break your road, reduce your max road length, or give someone else the longest road? ? I wouldn't necessarily say it's easier. I do think it depends on the quality of play in that particular scene. If you're playing, let's say, a very competitive league game, I do think there are a lot of players who will, let's say, conspire, as you say, to take down your road. But, I mean, there's also a lot of players that will conspire against an OWS player. So I don't really think... Oh, 1 second here. Let's get some of this. There's a lot of wood on this board. Let's go get it. I think at the higher levels, there is a way to balance both. So I don't, yeah, I don't think it's as much of a thing. In fact, I think in a lot of cases, there's a lot of situations where the road player has advantages in terms of pacing and to be able to stay off the radar, but it really just depends on who you play there. All right, let's see if we can get a brick. I'm also looking for an ore here. I'd be pretty happy with this. Gives me the popski. They said, no way, Jose. That's okay. We also got a question from Shiva here that says, Dandy, thank you for giving us awesome and consistent Catan content. You're welcome, man. Looks like you're inspiring Dylighted to post more too. Hopefully. If you're placing first, what are the situations that you will not take a 6, 5, 9, assuming it will give you at least 2 distinct resources? That's a great question. I mean, there's a lot of cases where I definitely would take the 5, 6, 9. I suppose it would have to be dependent on what are my outs, right? So what am I going to get on the way back? And then what's the port flexibility of getting that 5, 6, 9? Because the worst thing you want to do is have a lot of resources, but then you realize you can't effectively manage your hand, right? You can't offload those resources. And that would probably be the 2 main things is, do I get a complementary secondary spot? And do I have a port that will allow me to use my cards most effectively? All right. So let's see if we can grab this brick here. I would love a brick ski. And I'll also take an ore, I think, giving me the pops. Not too bad, Papa Dilly. Ooh, is he gonna break? We also have to keep in mind, orange is very sheep deprived. So hopefully we might be able to get some deals with orange. Oh, they're getting greedy. I think better for us here then is to see if we can trade for the wood. I'm not going to give him, not going to entertain that. I'd rather take the settle and the port if I can. Otherwise, what I'll do is I will port for a brick and pass, as the brick is the rarest resource for us, and I think the priority here is for us to get onto the port. So yeah, Shiva, I mean, I think with the 5, 6, 9, it really comes down to flexibility, because obviously that is the highest producing spot, but if I can't, look at that, port for the brick and the wood rolls. If I can't use the production, it's a problem for me. So, thank you for your question, really appreciate it. All right. We got the rolls coming in, looking good. So let's go to the next question here. Christopher Cuomo says, do you play any of the other expansions? If so, which is your favorite and why? Do you believe, well, I guess it's another question. Do you believe the base game is the best and most strategic version, or do you prefer one of the other expansions? So this is a fun one. I really don't play a lot of the expansions. I have played Seafarers, and I do own and have played Cities and Knights. And honestly, I consider myself a pretty decent Cities and Knights player. I've been to multiple tournaments, gotten to the final table, but I haven't won a CK tournament yet. So that, I would say CK is my favorite. I think it offers a lot to people that are used to the base game. To say, do I believe the base game is the best and most strategic version? It's a matter of taste, really. It's hard to say one is better than the other. I do think there's a lot more variables that are involved in the Cities and Knights. And for some people, they like that complexity, that chaos, as opposed, and then the other side of that, there's also some of the simplicity and the beauty that comes with that for the base game, which I think I'm in that camp to say, like, base game's probably simpler, but then there's also nuances to how you utilize the simplicity to be most effective. All right, we've got a handful of wood. Let's see if we can grab some cards. I think brick would be amazing. Ore would be great. We can try to grab an ore here. If we can settle pop, we're living our best life. Nobody wants to trade with us. The lonely trading world out there. All right, so we are doing something, which is our first objective. I think intuitively what I want to do here is now go for the sheep port, make our 6 really nice. So our sheep port is live, our wheat port's rocking. And who knows? I mean, if we could find a way to gravitate over towards the 8, that's pretty nice. But also a city's quite nice too. I mean, I think the 5, 10, 9 city is just balling. I like it. All right, so let's pass. So thank you for the question there, Chris. Cities and Knights, it's the game I like. Next question, Shiva's coming in with question number 3. Very nicely done, sir. 1 second, let me see if I can grab an ore here. I think strategically getting an ore, and I know he has one. You got to do something, man. Oh. Might be a city. No, it's a popski. Nice, nice. All right, Shiva's saying, Can you do a video on hand tracking tips? How do you get better at it step by step? I will do a video on hand tracking. It is kind of a cumbersome topic. You know, there's a lot that's involved with improving it. It's not something that you can just encapsulate in a video, so to speak. But some tips I would say is you want to take hand tracking from a progressive standpoint, which is start simple, right? Maybe your first step of hand tracking will be to start with one card in one player's hand, right? So I'm going to track only the wheat in my friend's hand. And then there, maybe you might expand it out to step 2, which will, I'm going to track all the wheat in everybody's hand. And then step 3 says I'm going to track maybe one person's entire hand. So there are ways that you can take hand tracking and really crank it up to keep improving and keep getting better. All right, let's get a big roll here, guys. We're getting sheep for days. So let's see if we can do this. I am going to attempt to sheep for wheat. This is going to give us the road settle on the sheep port, which is a massive play for us. Come on, folks. I know you want it. Otherwise, we could pop. I'm pretty happy with that. I think there's a lot of good development cards for us. Road Builder would be incredible. Mono's just winning. VPs aren't bad. All right, perfect. So yeah, Shiva, that's what I would say to you as far as tracking is find ways to progressively, well, first of all, figure out where you're at, right? How much can you handle in a game of Catan, and then start to kind of crank it up from there. I think focusing on one person or one resource is probably the best place to start. All right, man, this wheat is crushing, and this sucks. He is not having a good time with this 9 block. Oh, it is nice. He is having to waste his cards. Very good setup from him, by the way. He's got a lot of wheat. He's got more or less the best everything with the exception of the 8. No, we shouldn't be trading him more here. All right, so the next question is Julian Taffa says, how does your strategy change if you know you're playing against much weaker players? Damn, this was going crazy. I often find they are much harder to predict placements for and much less willing to trade in general. Yeah, it's an interesting question, Julian, because in a way, it does offer a lot more uncertainty, right? Newer players are going to do things that are unexpected. They might imbalance the game in a very particular way. But a lot of times I find when you just play solid, that will do a lot of good for your game. So one of the best things I think a lot of players can do is just focus on getting a playable setup, right? Having a good path towards, maybe you're going towards army or you're going towards road. Pick a path and go towards it. And just focus on playing solid to the point where they're going to make the mistakes and you're just going to slowly progress and build your setup. I don't worry too much about bad players. Yes, there are certain cases where they might make bad blocks, but usually that's not the case. Most of the time I find those players will give you advantages if you're patient enough to take them. So ultimately, I get pretty happy when I see new players. But play solid. That shouldn't change. That shouldn't change for you. All right, so let's quickly take a tally of the board here. If I can get like a 6 and a 5, I'm going to drop a city. That's probably what we need to do, really, to stay competitive here is get this city. And right now, I'm really concerned with green here. They have incredible production. They're gunning for a brick port, which I don't think that's really the best play for them, but, you know, they got to do what they got to do. But the road network's what scares me here, because they can cut through the middle of the board. Jeez Louise. Can I sell any of these cards? Like a 10's a city. 10 would be great. That's the opposite of a 10. Let's keep the sheep. I think the sheep's pretty tradable here. And again, I have to kind of go by my principle. I'm really concerned with green here. Oh, these are the moments dreams are made of. All right, so we got the monopoly. Very nice. Love to see it. And we pass. All right, to the next question. I'd love to see some sort of mini strategy guide. This is by Ipwnwithmatrix. I'd love to see some sort of mini strategy guide on 1v1 placements. I'm stuck in diamond and think my strategy placement is a big factor in my losses. There is an individual related to colonists, I believe that will be coming out with a 1v1 guide. You did not hear that from me, but I'm not the guy to help you with that. I've played very minimal amounts of 1v1, but I do know a lot of really good players that swear it's a great way to improve your fundamentals. So be patient. I'll definitely help promote some of those guys that come out. So can't help you there. I'm sorry. All right. let's figure out what's going on here. Go hit green. Green's your boy. So I think blue here, like, yeah, this makes sense, but I do think it's green. Perfect. So our problem here is we don't have a road network anymore, right? Because green has essentially said, I'm going to cut through the entire middle of the board. Yeah. So let's go get him. Let's go get him again. What does he got, though? It's probably sheep or wheat. Or wood. I think we need to start thinking about this mono and trying to get some advantage. We haven't had a single 3, by the way. This is whack. We could also go for a really big wheat mono, which will be nice. Obviously, it'll serve multi-purposes, right? It's offensive in the sense that we get the cards we need to maybe drop that city, but then we also take the wheat off the board at the same time, so could be the potential play. Next question, Eric Schill says, it seems like there are 4 main strategies in Catan: balanced setup, relying heavily on ports, road building / expansion, and OWS. Obviously, a mixture of all 4 is common. Which strategy have you found to be most reliable and consistent? Which one is most underrated? Of course, every board is different. Just want to hear your thoughts. Love the videos. Eric, thank you very much. 1 second. Let me figure out what's going on here. We've got a big hand. We need like a bunch of 10s here. One more 10. Come on, give me a roll. Give me a roll. Also, if that's exactly the roll I wanted. So let's, you know what? Actually, let's keep the wheat. I think we need to prepare for a big play, especially 7ing out there. So Eric's question, you know, what is the strategy which is bound to be most consistent, reliable? I hate to say this, it's probably just or wheat sheep. It's tried and true. It's easy to play. Oh, nice. So in that sense, I think it's a really great strategy. You know, it's also one that a lot of players tend to focus on early. I would say or wheat sheep's probably the go-to. But as you get better, you need to start adding different tools in your toolbox. You know, you shouldn't just be OWS focused. You need to learn how to play with ports. You need to learn how to play with road building. And what's going to happen is you're going to find little nuances, all these different setups that you can bring into almost any board or any game. It's one of the reasons why I'm able to play in tons of different positions, because I have so much experience testing and trying tons and tons of different setups. By the way, we're getting into mono territory. I wish I didn't 7 out. That was balls, but here we are. All right, Eric also said, what percentage of the game is luck versus strategy? Damn, this 5 is crushing. My friends say I get lucky, but I think they are just jealous of my success in Catan. They are so jealous. Incredibly jealous. Yeah, the way I've always described Catan to people is it's 80% skill and then 20% luck. And there's a lot of other people that seem to kind of feel that's kind of the ideal spot. Yeah, I think if anyone just says it's a dice game, that's probably just more their own bias and experience speaking than anything else. All right, for everyone at home, will we get hit here with the 7? Or we can get robbed. That's kind of nice. Will we get hit with the 7? It's only one way to find out. Oh, that's ore. It's not enough ore is the problem. And unfortunately, orange is a bot. So let's do this. Let's port. I mean, I have it. I could mono for a city, but that's so weak. Let's buy one more dilly here. You know, I don't know what to tell you guys. It's pretty good. We do need a city, though. I think that's probably our next mission, because now we do have the mono and the 2 VPs in our back pocket, and that's a lot of ore now. Do not use it, bot. God damn it. One of the issues, though, is the wood is kind of a little bit... We can't really use it. Yeah, there it is again. All right, next question. Kyle says, thanks, Drew. I think your mental positivity in the game is what drew me to your channel. I see what you did there. Did you always have that mindset even when you started? I suppose so. I mean, I've always been a relatively positive, upbeat person, I guess you can say in some ways. I'm also a very serious person. I mean, I've always strived to be the best version of myself, and I demand a lot of, you know, from myself when it comes to things like this. You know, even though it's a board game, I still want to show up and be the best player I possibly can. I've just find there's so many cases where having a good attitude, it's just worth it. Hold on, let me see if I can get some trades here. It ain't bad, but he's also got a lot of points. Can we just milk him for another card? Go big or go home, boy. Also, the 10 is rolled a little bit. Let's see if we can grab the ore instead. Okay, that's fine. So I'm a very competitive person. But I've found that just having a good attitude has served me a lot in a lot of cases. I guess it's just one of those things, you know, you get positive and negative feedback as you travel through the world, and it's something that I've noticed it's important for me to improve on. But I'm not perfect. You know, a lot of people come to this channel and give me a lot of praise about my attitude, and I really appreciate that. But I have my bad days. I've made some enemies along the way. At the end of the day, it's really just about taking responsibility and having that 1% mindset where every day you're just trying to get a little bit better. And it's definitely important to look at your mental health and the attitude you bring to the game. So Kyle, thank you for the question. What is going on, by the way? Are we winning? Are we losing? I just know we have the most ridiculous hand here. All right, let's go to the next question. How does the desert spot in a game change your thought process, especially during the initial placements, i.e. center versus edge versus second ring desert? Yeah, that's interesting. Also, blue, come on, dude. What are you doing? You got a mono? And this is actually a great case. Oh, hold on. There's just not a lot of ore. I think I get 3 ore sucks. Oh, I have the road settled, don't I? Okay, screw it. We're going to take the road settle. Let me think here. But we need a city too. Screw it. We're going to take the road settle. The thing is, we can always use the mono for the cities, you know? That's kind of nice. Perfect hand. There we go. So typically, when you have the desert on the side of the board, it doesn't seem to change too much. Or if you go into let's say the second ring, where I notice the biggest difference when it comes to the desert is when it's in the middle. Absolutely in the middle, because what happens is a lot of the board essentially opens up. Practically the entire board is useful. And I find there's a lot of interesting settle opportunities. For instance, like the 6-5 over here. This is a huge production spot that you typically just wouldn't see that, you know, and it's always open in most cases because of the layout of this board. So I find where the biggest difference in the game lies is in these center desert boards, with just these interesting expansion opportunities. And me being primarily a road player, I think that's awesome. All right, we need to get 2 cities here. That would be my goal. If I can mono for a city and a city, boy, that is nice. So maybe if we get like 2 or 3 10s, we're living our best life. Well, there's one. But yeah, I typically don't worry too much if the desert's on the outside or the second ring. It's the center ring that I notice the most interesting and creative plays can come from. Next question. I appreciate that. Goz Z says, how do you evaluate threat levels as there are... I'll just get the rolls here. How do you evaluate threat levels as there are strong late game and early game positions, plus there's also player flexibility from ports to consider? Would just like to hear some examples of who do you think is stronger on a board, even when there's a point gap. Ooh, this is kind of nice, but he's got a lot of points. Hold on, fam. Just a little table talk. It is a good trade, but he's 1 road from 8 points. It's too much. It's too much. By the way, if we get some 10s here, if we get like 10, boy. Yeah, so threat levels are interesting. It's hard. I think he's dropping another city. Okay, this is fine. So he's holding the ore in his hand. Okay, well, there goes 1 ore. So, dear God, don't hit me here. Perfect. Well, what is nice is we have at least half the VPs. So threat levels are interesting. I would say it's really trying to understand the potential. Oh, there goes the ore. To understand the potential of the setups in play here. I have to hold, unfortunately. Yeah, there's nothing I can do. For me, like, I'm looking at the development cards, and I count every single development card as a point, right? Because it could be the case that somebody's sitting there with 3 VPs or 2 VPs if they have 2 or 3 development cards. I'm also looking at what is their potential for things like road. You know, can they take army? Can they pop a lot of development cards? What is their ability to city? Can they city quickly or not? So there's a lot of factors, and I think part of it's experience to be able to read positions accurately. That's a big thing. Ooh, that's a lot of brick. All right, we need some good rolls here. Like a 10 would just be massive. We also we have rolls for a city here. That is a city roll. So let's take that city roll to the bank. Where do we put it? Intuitively, the 6-4-3 feels good. I think it's a 6-4-3, guys. We just need 1-3. We've got a lot of work with here. A lot of brick, too, so maybe it was the 5-10-9 gave us some potential road plays. Oh, well. All right, the mono's huge for us. few sixes and we're rocking and rolling. Look at that. So yeah, I would say kind of learn the value of development cards, keeping them as worth 1 point. That's probably the best way to start evaluating threats. Okay, 6, we can road settle, by the way. That's looking much better for us. We're not going to get road, though. What is the best strategy? This is from Baller34725. What is the best strategy to win games when other players are making mistakes that are out of your control? Like trading too loosely or tunneling on you with blocks and robs. I'm seeing rolls come in through the peripherals of my eyes. Allowing other players to get ahead. What is the best strategy? So it's just playing solid. I mean, there's no other way around it, if that makes some sense there. You know, you can't control what bad players are going to do, but I think if you consistently make good decisions... Do we have a way to win here? Yeah, we win. GG. So we are going to go 1, 2, 3. Bam. All right. The power of the mono. It's like the whole time we didn't get robbed. I do want to make sure I did answer the question. Like you said, what's the best strategy when players are making bad decisions? I really think it comes down to having a good plan and just focusing on executing that plan, right? What's going to happen is when bad players are executing their game, they're going to make mistakes, they're going to fall behind, they're going to play suboptimal. And instead of getting upset, instead of worrying about what they're doing, you need to focus on your plan and your strategy. And more often than not, you playing solid and just making less mistakes than the bad players are going to put you in an advantageous position. It's one of those things you kind of have to let it roll off your shoulder. It's much harder than I'm making out to be because sometimes frustration and tilt can come into play. But you just got to let it slide and know that as long as you're making good, optimal plays, that's going to pay off huge dividends in the long run. All right, Baller, hopefully that helped you out there in answering your question. This is like a huge thing for me when it dealing what you can control and what you can't control. A huge part of this game is the mental attitude of accepting that fact, which is if you're going to let the things you can't control frustrate you, tilt you, it's going to affect your game. Absolutely will hurt your game, okay? It's better to have a stoic mindset and say, you know what? I can't control this player. They're making bad decisions. They're trading too loosely. They're tunneling on me. So what? Accept it. Embrace it. And in fact, just say, you know what? I'm going to take this as a challenge. And when you have that mindset where nothing can break you, and you can just always look at everything as an opportunity to get better and to be the best player that you can, man, nothing will slow you down. Nothing will stop you. So I appreciate you sharing that question. Hopefully, I think I got through quite a few. I'm going to do more of the series. And if you're enjoying this, please like, comment, subscribe, let us know. And let's do a board review real quick. I'll be honest with you. I was probably like 22% involved in this game. This is, I guess, years of experience. You know, you can kind of do these things and make it work. All right. So what happened here? A few mistakes. Orange became a bot. That was probably the #1 mistake. But they placed pretty well. I think they really needed to get over to the 912 and kind of make use of that wooden brick. Also didn't trade very much. We offered a lot of trades for wheat and sheep. Didn't go through, is what it is. Ultimately, we had a pretty good strategy, which was we've got good ports, great production, and we also pulled like a god. I mean, 2 VPs and a mono out of, I believe we only pulled 3 devs, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I mean, it's lucky. I'm not going to sit here and lie. It's lucky. Overall, let's go take a look at the rolls. Pretty wild dice, 6s. We weren't having fun with that. The 5s were nuts, which didn't really help us because we didn't get the brick rolls until the very end. Actually, the only brick rolls were at the very end. So our hand was flooded with wood, which if I recall, we did 7 out once or twice, I think primarily because of that. No big deal. It happens. 10s were very good. And what was interesting about the 10s for me is, okay, it's not a lot, 5, but the coordination really gave us some potential opportunities, I think, to either drop some big city plays or work the 10s there. So not too bad for us. Blue has a very interesting balance strategy. I actually kind of like it. It just seems like they didn't really get their setup up and running. Like if you look here, funny enough, we actually outproduced the table, which is wild because we didn't get a city until the very end. So we outrolled the table just on good production. Like we only got that city, and in fact, the only really advantage of the city that we had was the 3s, which, you know, technically did give us the win. But and we got robbed once. We'll take it. That's a very rare feat in a DandyDrew game. All right, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed that. That is the Dandy After Dark, episode 1, or Dad for short. I don't know. You call it whatever you like. I appreciate you being here, sharing your feedback. We will have more of these episodes. I have more questions, I promise you. I've only gone through a few, and there's a lot more to share there. Again, if you're enjoying the channel, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe. We're going to keep doing amazing things. And never forget, you are awesome. Thank you. Dandy out.